Ladies and gentlemen, please go absolutely wild and crazy. It's Joanne Paul!
Hello. Yes, I came back for more. You'll get that later. So here I'm talking to you about philosophers in love and also not. I thought, though, I'd like to segue into tonight's talk by bringing in a bit from last time. Who was here last time? Yeah, okay. So last time I talked to you about Thomas More's head. There it is for those of you who may not have been here or just wanted to see it in all its gooey glory again. And I'm wondering if someone, 10 points, if you can tell me what the hashtag was from last time. Shout it, shout it.
More head.
There we go, it was more head, exactly right. And I thought I'd use that to segue into tonight's talk because I did some research after our last session and came across this, which is Thomas More's coat of arms. We had somebody talking about awesome coats of arms earlier. And this is his. And you see that it's got these lovely birds on it. Now, they're black birds because in the 16th century, Moore was synonymous with black. We won't talk about why. But also, you see they're kind of like rooster-like birds. Now, what's another name for a rooster? Anybody? Come on.
Cock!
Thank you, yes. Who isn't excited to... Everybody yell cock. Cock! Thank you, exactly. Who wouldn't want to yell cock? Come on. Anyway, so these, no word of a lie, were actually called a Moore cock, which I thought we would use for our hashtag for tonight, because we're about to talk about the veritable sausage fest that is the history of philosophy. And so I thought this would give us a good chance to use this hashtag morecock. Good. Okay, because when you look at the history of philosophy, what you see, and we got a taste of this with Adrian earlier, is men. Men, 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 many, many men. And what's interesting about a lot of these men is that it's not just that they were men, but they didn't know that many women, and I sort of mean in the biblical sense. A lot of them didn't get married, really had no connection with women whatsoever, no understanding of the female experience, which I should say is very, very different from the intellectual elite of today. Very, very different. No resonance today whatsoever. Now, of course, there are some exceptions to this, and I thought I'd start with the exceptions. One of my favorites, an absolute hottie, so you could see why he would get married, is J.S. Mill. Yum. And he married this slightly ago, Harriet Taylor. And if you're wondering how they got together, there's maybe some difference between the attractive levels here, is that you have to understand that he had a really big, really long, fully substantial suffragette banner. And that's basically what did it. Feminists are hot, remember that. Okay. Another notable exception is Karl Marx. Karl Marx fell in love with his sort of the equivalent, I guess, of a high school sweetheart, Jenny, and they were married. They had 4 daughters, I think a son as well. And unfortunately, though, he named all his daughters Jenny, which is a little bit creepy. The other great thing about Karl Marx and Jenny, though, is he wrote her absolute reams of this really, really crappy poetry. Like, look it up. It's really, really shit. And you think about Marx and the Revolution or whatever, absolutely sappy, shitty poetry. And so I thought I'd share just a stanza with you. To Jenny, words, lies, hollow shadows, nothing more. Crowding life from all sides round. In you, dead and tired, must I outpour spirits that in me abound. So those are some of the exceptions. There are obviously lots more. But I mean, a lot of philosophers didn't end up getting married. Part of the reason for that, well, I mean, they might have been geeks like most of us, but the other reason might have been that they thought that it would get in the way of their philosophizing. Francis Bacon, for instance, said that he that hath wife and children hath given hostages to fortune, for they are impediments to great enterprises, either of virtue or mischief. Now, actually, Francis Bacon is a bit of a hypocrite, because he did actually end up getting married. Very shortly before he died, inventing frozen chicken, which is the best thing ever. Next time you go and make some chicken from Frozen, you have to say a little prayer for Francis Bacon. And I think it's wonderful that a man named Bacon died inventing frozen chicken. There's something Video Killed the Radio Star about that. I really, really enjoy that. So one of the people who was single philosopher, of course, we've already seen Thomas Hobbes. You can see the Bill Bailey resemblance that Adrian pointed out earlier. Thomas Hobbes, known by some as the Monster of Malmesbury, I think because he was a sexy beast. I had fun finding that photo. Just, you know, a little extracurricular. Anyway, so he lived to the ripe old age of 91, which is quite impressive, I think. Never ended up getting married. Another one, Thomas Paine, or as my students like to call him, T-Paine. Which is fantastic. He actually did get married. I think he was married twice. The first wife died. Second wife really, really hated him, though. So he left her behind when he went to America and basically started the American Revolution. We'll get to the French later. Now, Thomas Paine was kind of an asshole. He was really, really an asshole. I think he is the most extreme mansplainer ever to have existed. And that is because he was at a dinner party one time, and he spent the whole evening, he was a raging alcoholic, by the way, so he spent the whole evening knocking him back and mansplaining about rights to Mary fucking Wollstonecraft. Which, if you're gonna mansplain, you know, you might as well fucking go for it. So that's what he did. And then our third bachelor of this evening is Friedrich Nietzsche. And king of the mustache, obviously. Now, Nietzsche was rumored to have been in love with various men and women throughout his life. We can't really be sure. But then there's this photo. So he spent some time sort of traveling around with this couple, Paul Ray and Lou Salome. But unfortunately, I don't really know what happened, but they ended up leaving him behind, which was very, very sad for Nietzsche. So I was feeling a little bit bad about all of these single philosophers who had no one to love. So I thought that tonight we would pair up some of you guys with some of these philosophers, so they'd have someone to love them. And I mean, I can't think of a better way of sort of finding a true soulmate than a BuzzFeed quiz. So we're going to do a BuzzFeed quiz. Now, I wasn't sure if I was allowed to use the word BuzzFeed if I get sued or something, so this is actually a fuzzbead quiz, and make sure that you keep that in mind. So this is, which single philosopher should you date? So, you know, get out your phones if you need them to keep track, or write on a napkin, or the person next to you, preferably if they're a stranger. Or there's only 3 questions, so maybe you should just remember. So our first question, on your first date, you'd like to find some friends and take some sexy, awkward photos. That's option A. Down a bunch of booze and rants about men's rights. That's option B. Have a look at your date's Leviathan. All right, so everybody choose A, B, or C. Question 2. You open a love letter to find, dear darling, a pair of powerful spectacles has sometimes sufficed to cure a person in love. Kissy face. My sweet, nothing, they say, is more certain than death, and nothing more uncertain than the time of dying. Heart. Or, and you know I had to do it, dearest love, the life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. XOXOXO. All right, and next one. Your date's best story is, so one of our philosophers, I won't tell you which one, was prefect in school, bit of head boy, and he used to go drinking with this like sort of homeless poet that lived in his town, and so one time he showed up really, really drunk to class and got demoted from prefect, top bounce. Another one of ours was, okay, so he ended up arrested during the terror. and was meant to be executed. And I know I'm out of time, but I'll hurry up, I swear. He was meant to be executed, and he was in prison. And the guy would come on the door and, like in chalk, put that X if you were meant to be guillotined the next day. But he had guests in, so the guy wrote it on the wrong side of the door, and so he was never executed and got away, which is fantastic. And then almost burned as a heretic. La 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 la. All right. So does everybody know which A, B, or C you're at? Because if you got mostly A's, you're Hobbes. Intro to that. Mostly B, you got our friend Mr. T. Paine. And mostly C's, you ended up with Nietzsche. Now, if you had one of each, then you're a lucky duck. You have a very fun evening ahead of you. But for me, I think I'll stick with more cock. Thanks, guys.
Joanne Paul! And a number of awkward hashtags. Good luck, anyone tweeting hashtag more cock. Can I have a cheer for anyone who really enjoyed the Doge references in the middle of there? Now give me a cheer if when I say Doge you immediately assume of Venice.